Welcome to the Crypt of Wax. Today we are talking Danish rockers, Scimitar, with their debut album, Scimitarium I. Am I right in that, Mike?
Yeah, it's their debut album. I think they did like a little EP thing beforehand, but yeah, this is definitely their debut.
Nice. Released on Crypt of the Wizard on the 28th of February. And 7 songs, 40 minutes long. Had you heard of this band, Mike? Anything about them kind of before doing this record?
No, not at all. Never heard of them. I get the impression they're a very new band. I think their little EP only came out last year, maybe. So I think it sounds like they're kind of made up of musicians from the sort of Copenhagen metal scene.
That would make sense because this is by no means a amateur or first sounding release by a new band, if that makes sense.
No, God, no. I mean, look, do you want to get into the musicianship on this album straight away? Because fucking hell.
It's unreal, isn't it? It's actually unreal.
Yeah, it's honestly, I can't remember the last time I've heard an album where I've been kind of that blown away by the how great and technically proficient the performers are on it. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Not just in the individual playing merit, because that is like on top of its game throughout.
Yeah.
But like the understanding of songwriting is it's insane, man. It's actually insane.
Yeah. It really is, man. And I mean in particular as well, the fucking lead guitar playing in this album is just so incredible. It really is.
Yeah.
Like there's a real like fluidity to the playing. It doesn't sound like it's been dropped in, like someone's taking multiple tapes to drop in certain sections. It all sounds like it was just done in one go, like on each song. It's there's just the way he slides into each kind of part. There's particularly the first proper track, Aconitum, because you got the intro song, everyone sort of sets a vibe, but then the first proper song on there, the lead lines in that. Do you know the bit? You know the bit I mean? That sort of like that bit like is amazing, and there's an incredible solo as well towards the end in this one as well.
Let's just rewind a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got excited.
No, as did I. So like, Scimitar are a sort of hard rocky, progressive rocky, like almost 60s psychedelic kind of rock band with like almost like a black metal infused iciness, rawness to it all. Female fronted, and the vocals they're quite bizarre. They're not like just your straightforward kind of sung vocal, are they? They've got this kind of like I want to say like a Bjork kind of quality to it, a Bjork kind of weirdness to it, because there's a lot of variation in her voice. It's never just straight, but very. I've never heard a band like this, to be quite honest.
No, me neither. Never. I'd never heard this before. Like this sort of thing. They've got this kind of like occult rock vibe to it as well. That's got that kind of, that kind of devil worshipy type thing going on in there. And it's also like a bit of a post-punk vibe to some of the songs as well. You've got some sort of almost like disco beats and stuff in places.
Yeah.
Which this album just it's its own thing. It doesn't really lead. I mean, there's a big black metal influence in there, but it's certainly not a black metal album.
Nah, not at all.
But the black metalness that they inject into is very, very authentic.
Yeah, I think it's that kind of icy. It's that icy. It's more like an essence rather than a necessarily like, oh, that's a black metal riff, or I guess because the drummer like introduces blasts throughout, and it's not like it's not your straight like just hard rock kind of album, is it? There is a lot mixed in, but it does it in such a package and in such a way that it's quite mind blowing, to be honest.
It's effortless, man, the way they do it. It really is. And her vocals, she's got I thought of like kind of Jefferson Airplane
Mate, I
listening
put that
to the vocals. Yeah,
especially in track 4, Hungry Hallucinations. That the lead chorus hook was huge Jefferson Airplane influence for sure.
Yeah, man. It was. John, what is your opinion on the vocals? Because when you first listened to this, right?
Yeah.
You're quite reactionary, John, aren't you, as a person with things?
I'm hugely reactionary.
I know, right? Yeah. So you messaged me saying that you find the vocals annoying. And I'm keen to know what you think now, because I do think actually when you listen to it, you don't expect those vocals at all.
No.
And I do think if you don't get it straight away, you come to appreciate by the end of the album of what she's doing within the song.
That's exactly it. I think you sold this to me. So you were like, I think we should do this record, and you kind of sold it to me as a kind of rocky.
John, how excited was I about this album when I first heard it?
You were all over it, and I was like, okay, it's obviously got to be quite good. And you sold it to me as like kind of a hard rocky black metal-y record, but with kind of Castle Rat vocals. So I was like, okay, this sounds really cool. Then you've got the kind of intro track, which is this kind of like discordant picked guitar, like there's no vocals at all, but it like really sets the tone. So I was like, all right, this is sounding right up my street. Then track 2 comes in, and the vocals, when the vocals came in, I really wasn't on board at all. I think they're going to be very Marmite for a lot of people on first listen. I think you're either going to kind of love it straight off the bat or like really not get it. But by the time Red Ruins, track 3 came along, the vocals had a bit more of a, I want to say, melody to it. I think track 2, where, the first song where her vocals are introduced, there wasn't as much melody. It was just more like a kind of showcase of her range almost, but there was a kind of like a layer of despair to sometimes some of her vocals. But track 3, Red Ruins, is when she starts to introduce a lot more kind of melody and catchy hooks, and I think that was when I was actually sold. It didn't take me long to sort of get into that headspace of like, okay, this is actually really good.
When I got to Red Ruins, I mean, I loved it straight away, but when I got to Red Ruins, I was then like, wow, this is fucking really quite special. That song maybe more than others. You've got those mix of paces in there, so they add quite a lot of the blast beats in sections, and it works so well. Yeah. And then there's actually a part where they just go into like a fast beat, and she's doing vocals over it. It's almost quite punk sounding in that sense, and it works really, really well. And it's at that point I was like, wow, her vocals work really well with this kind of more extreme style that they put in as well. It doesn't sound out of place at all. No. She's got a bit. So I mean, I struggle a lot with a lot of bands that have kind of female vocalists, because a lot of them are kind of symphonic metal. I know. Do you know what? I was really hoping I was going to get to play that card on you, but it's been dropped on me. Sexist. But what I struggle with genuinely, and this isn't just female vocals, it's just that sort of tends to be the case. Is very smooth sounding vocals with heavy riffs. Like, it doesn't always really work for me. I like clean singing, but I feel like it's got to have like an edge to it or something like that. And I think she really has that on this. Like, there's something about it.
Does. Yeah. I think it is like a layer of despair and almost like unhinged. You never know if what she's really going to do next, whether she's going to do it, because she has this kind of mid-sung scream that she does, especially on track 2. She introduces that quite early on, but you never know if she's going to kind of go into this weirder approach, or if it's going to be like a kind of sweet harmony. And I think living on that edge is what makes this band great. Like, there is a sort of unhingedness to all of it. It's all quite chaotic. Like, it could all just kind of go nuts at any point, but it holds it together. It's really well done.
Well, you look at Red Ruins again. I know I feel like we're going to talk about this song quite a bit because it's a real highlight on the album. But she's got some really great vocal hook in there. as well. And there's a couple of songs where that really sticks out on Red Ruins and Hungry Hallucinations. There's like the catchiest vocal melody of the album is probably on that one. It's a really, that song doesn't really have the black metal influence in there as much. It's more this kind of post-punk kind of thing.
You mean Hungry Hallucinations?
Yeah, what did I say?
No, I'm saying, is that the one you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's the one. That's leaning more into the kind of post-punk thing. But yeah, with the catchy melody that they go back to, they kind of repeat it. I mean, the whole album's great, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, that song is where it's the first song on the album that sort of leaves behind that sort of icy like darkness, and there's almost like an overall uplifting feeling to this song, just with that undercurrent that something could kick off at any point. But I think that song is the most sort of like akin to Jefferson Airplane and that 60s psychedelic progressive hard rock sound. Then it goes into like track 5, Fever Dance, which is like you spoke at the start, that kind of like dance disco like Eurobeat almost. But it works. It works so well.
I tell you what, man, and this is obviously the Scandinavian vibe, but didn't the intro guitar line remind you of ABBA?
It may, and with that drum especially, it had big ABBA sound.
Well, it honestly sounds like the melody, and their song "Lay All Your Love on Me." Like it sounds like that, like the synth melody they do in that. And when you hear that in a Scandinavian band as well, I just think that's like a real nice little homage, sort of, where that influence probably just ingrained into them from like a young age growing up.
Yeah. Really cool. Then track 6, you've got a kind of interlude with no name. Enjoyed it. Like it didn't sound out of place. It was like a nice just atmosphere build that sort of led into the final track, which is the longest track on the album, Ophidia. It's 10 minutes, isn't it? Yeah. Just starts with this kind of like powerful driving beat that they sort of like revisit, and it's 10 minutes long, but it never once feels like it's outstaying its welcome, or that you're like, they're just repeating this part. Like every moment slots perfectly within the kind of, it's almost like a little jigsaw in that song, and it's just
the journey of this album, like it's so great all the way through, but this song as the ender is perfect. I think it's the best song on the album, but the whole album is at that same level. But this song is just, the opening instrumental part of it, like before it goes into the verse, is just amazing. It's so good. It's so technically great, but feels effortless. It feels very flowing as well. Then when it goes into the verse riff, that change into the verse riff, it goes into almost like a kind of old school heavy metal kind of vibe. With her vocal, and she's got that sort of slight despair. You're right. She has like a sort of a anguish or despair, sort of slight, feel to her voice, and it works so well. And there's this incredible part, like you have a solo around the 7-minute mark. It sort of drops down. Then it goes into like a lead line section with the vocal, like drum roll, like about a minute later, that builds up into the ending. And her vocals at the end, that's when you kind of hear the most despair in her voice on the album. It's such a great way to end the record. It's amazing. Yeah.
Like I think for our tastes, like the whole package of this is like so up our street. I mean, the artwork is so cool. It's so simple, man. It's just like a red kind of burgundy cover with their name and their logo like written in gold.
It's like fantasy, quite fantasy sort of vibe, isn't it? Yeah,
it is quite fantasy. And it's sort of just, when you're listening to it and you're looking at that, and like we've spoke about this on other episodes, other reviews, but like it just, even though there's no image to it, it feels like a kind of like opening of like a book or something, and it like it just elevates the sound. It like brings it all together in such a nice package. And the production has that rawness, that kind of, it's not so lo-fi that you're just like, oh, this sounds, it does need like an element of like push. And I think they absolutely nailed the tone in like how much to give of that.
It's more like, instead of lo-fi, it's more kind of analog retro. It kind of sounds like it was done in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's very bass light though. Have you noticed that? Like the bass is very audible, but the actual tone is very. There's not much low end at all.
No. Yeah, no, but I love that about this. I think for that's what gives it that kind of black metal iciness, like that kind of quite gainy, quite trebly, and it really adds to their kind of whole sound. I was looking at their Bandcamp. It says like all music written, recorded, performed, mixed, and executed by Scimitar. So I mean, they did it all, man. So they must have a level of like quite a big level of know-how in that band of how to kind of put together something quite special.
They look quite young as well from the photos. They don't look like sort of real I mean, they obviously are seasoned musicians and stuff, but they don't look like kind of old heads, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like late 20s, maybe.
Fucking hell, man. Let's talk about this album, John, in the sense that, like, what do you think the perception of this album is going to be? And like, how popular do you think this album is going to be this year?
I don't know what the visibility of this album is going to be like for a lot of people. Like, not that Crypt of the Wizard is a small label by any stretch, but it's going to stay quite underground, I think. Which maybe that's where they're quite happy being. But I mean, it deserves to be catapulted. In my opinion, it's. I think. I mean, what are we in? Just March, but like. Talks of album of the year contender for sure.
Man, look, this is for me. This is album of the year, and it's that spot to look. I think there's a long time for albums to come out and potentially take it over, but I don't know what I can see really overtaking this, like coming out. Like it's.
Gosh,
I've just never heard.
He's calling it already in March.
Well, I've never heard an album like it. I've never heard an album like it.
It's unique, but like in the best way, man. It's just. Definitely worth checking out.
I'm glad you came around to this because I felt a bit like I'm totally blown away by this, and John seems not bothered at all.
It wasn't. It was never a case of not bothered. It was just like like you said, man, reactionary, very reactionary,
sexist, bit of sexism there. Yeah, silence speaks 1,000 sexist words.
Didn't like that I called you it, so you had to get me back.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I know. Well, I planned on getting it in today to you anyway, so I had to do it somehow. I had to bring it back around.
I think I don't have much more to say on this album other than like go listen to this immediately. It's everywhere. It's like on Spotify, on Bandcamp. Scimitar. Scimitarium.
Do you think we're going to be
I.
the only? Are we going to be the only show reviewing this? Do you think?
Maybe. Exclusive,
guys. Seriously, I can't recommend this album enough.
Yeah, me neither. It's one of them. Like occasionally, I'll get like obsessed with an album. And this is one that's just taken that spot at the moment. Like I'll listen to it, finish it, and I'll just put it on again, like on repeat. And I genuinely can't get enough of it. It's really cool. I'm tempted to get the record of it, like the vinyl of it.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, the package of it is amazing.
I was
see if they've got any available.
I was going to say it's one of those albums as well that's so melodic. Like, I mean, I'm like John. I've got obsessed with this, and I was able to listen to it in the car with the kids because, like, it's kind of like palatable enough for a lot of people. You're not listening to anything that's like overly aggressive or anything like that, are you? Or
no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
and I think if it's that kind of like, if at first you don't get on board with the vocals, like just stay with the album because by the end you will be fully invested. I think that's my one take on it. But yeah, man, like near perfect record, if not a perfect record.
Perfect. I can't fault it.
No, I can't, to be fair. All right, listen, check that out, and check us out every Wednesday and Friday. We put out the latest metal releases. Let us know in the comments if you check this album out and what you thought of it, because it's pretty special, man. Like Mike has gone early with the album of the year call, but
I just think I mean, look, even if it's not, it's going to be up there.
It's going to be up there, top 3 at least. But yeah, let us know what you think, and tune in next time for the latest metal releases, and we'll catch you later. Goodbye.